Okay, so you had mentioned that you were driving down this road the day of the fire and you saw smoke. Can you explain what you saw that day?
About a quarter mile from this location, we got a visual on a smoke plume, and it was just white in color. And from a distance, it looked like somebody could have been using a yard smoker. But as we got closer, I said, "No, we got a fire out here." And that's when we approached the gate, and someone was already out there waving us down, saying they were on the phone with 911. So at that time, they just asked, "What's the address?" And we pointed the address to them. And my partner that was with me was making a couple phone calls. So we headed up the road, and as soon as I got up to this area, I was able to kind of assess the size of the fire, and I kind of just jumped into action, life and property. So try to get the people out of the house. That's my main goal, is to make sure that they were safe. And once that was accomplished, then it looked like we could actually fight the fire. And I ended up grabbing a Kubota tractor that I'd used in the past here and started kind of cutting a fire line in, and I was dumping some dirt at the base of these structures to keep them from going up. And my partner that was with me was looking for shovels, and another gentleman that was in the house got some shovels, and they started working down below. And I can't remember exactly how long it was, but a pretty solid gust of wind kicked up all of a sudden, and it grabbed the fire and just pushed it up the hill through that gully and hit those trees. Once those trees ignited, it was like a wave of heat hit us. And at that point, we realized it was pretty difficult for us to continue and win this battle. So it was a chaotic scene. It went pretty quick. It probably was hours, but yet seemed like minutes. It just was kind of a blink of an eye, and next thing you know, we're fighting a fire. It was wild. It was what I didn't expect for that day, that's for sure.
And so when you got here, the first thing you did was you banged on the house that's located over here.
I did. I made several attempts to make contact with the people inside, and it was difficult. The TV was on really loud, so I knew people were in the house. They did not respond. And I kept looking over my shoulder, watching the fire get bigger, and it was like, they need to get out here now because I have work to do. And so at one point, we finally heard some rustling around, and somebody came out of one of the side doors, and I said, "Fire, you guys got to get out." And then I was able to, move on and continue work and, go to work basically.
And when did you realize that you were going to get your tractor? And I know you had mentioned over the phone that it looked pretty small, like you could tackle this thing.
Well, the flames weren't very tall because it was in this brush, and it would only had encompassed this area right here when we were initially starting it. But like I said, it was slowly growing. And so yeah, the tractor is just parked down there, and I know how to start it. So I got it up here and just started using it as a tool to help mitigate the fire. It's honestly, when I got here and I was like, oh, we can fix this problem, and I wanted to, because, this is the Jensen Memorial Youth Ranch land. They do amazing things for kids. And I was like, we got to help this. And so that was the goal, is to just save the property. We had no idea that it would push the fire so hard and so fast up that hill that, I guess there's a little bit of like guilt in me going, I could have done more. I could have done better. But after talking to the fire investigator, he said, there's just no way. You would have never, ever beat that on that particular day with those particular winds. But still, every day I go, I wish I'd done more, because something like that drove and pushed through my town and took out all those houses and changed so many people's lives. It's difficult to stomach that, maybe if I was here 25 minutes earlier, maybe I found it when it was smaller, but that's not what happened.
And you felt that gust of wind?
Yeah, I did. I was on the tractor right up on that hillside cutting a fire line in, and my buddies were down there. They were basically working on this second structure. And, it was moving, but not super fast. But then when that gust of wind kicked up, it's like it grabbed the fire and pushed it that direction. And once it hit those trees, it was like a bomb going off. The heat was immense. And, I literally screamed out to them, "You guys okay?" And they were like, "That was a hot one." I mean, it was close to being dangerous for us in a lot of senses. The tractor kept stalling on me. I believe it was because of the amount of smoke that was getting taken into the engine. I'm not sure. Normally it ran great. I struggled with it. I had to jump off it at one point, and the firefighters put out a small part of the tire that had caught on fire. Right around that time, the property owner, Carl Grube, was actually here in his truck driving up. He'd been called by somebody, and he came up and he was on the fire line, and he was making phone calls. He didn't get out of his truck because he didn't walk very well, but he was happy that we were trying to do something.
And when you felt that big gust of wind, was that kind of the turning point where you realized this is too big?
Something in me at that moment said, you just lost. You're not going to win this. It's gone. And that's when it ran up the hill. I mean, you couldn't outrun it. It went through this cut in the hillside, and it was up the hill. And right around that time or minutes later, fire trucks started rolling up. And I think the first one came up and talked to me, and the second one drove right past me, and they drove straight up the hill. And they just chased it. And those guys are heroes. It was amazing watching them jump into action like that.
And when did you realize, I need to get out of here? You had your kids in the car, or your kid in the car. When did you realize we need to leave?
There was really no point that I felt that we weren't safe because of the amount of fire crews here and all of the citizens that showed up to help. And we were, at one point the tractor was just not working right, and I got it out of and put it back, and I ended up moving my car where my kids could literally watch us, and they were watching us the whole time. I moved it to a position where I could get out of here if I needed to. We stayed as long as we could, and then at one point I realized, our kids have been sitting in the car watching their dads do this, and they could see that we were getting tired and worn. The fire crews were here. There wasn't much more we could do. So we felt like it was time to take them home. We ended up stopping and getting them some ice cream to kind of bring their spirits up a little bit, because it was traumatic for them. I mean, not just for them, for everybody.
And can you talk about just the emotions going through your head when you realized I was just fighting a fire?
I mean, it's like anything else. You just jump into action. You don't really think about what you're doing. You think about what needs to get done, and you just do it. I think anyone else would have done the same thing.
And how are you doing today?
It's tough to relive it. To be honest, I used to come out here all the time. And after the fire, it took me probably 3 months to come back out here. It's tough just because, we lost Carl, and he was a philanthropist. He just did everything he could to take care of kids and do great things for the community. And Medical Lake is such a great community already. It's just so hard to know that was a loss. And it's really tough because I talked to him right before I left, and I said, hey, you probably shouldn't go back into town because no one's going to be able to get back in anyway. But for whatever reason, he was a cowboy, and you're not telling him what to do. He was a very strong man, a very great man, and it's a huge loss to the community. It's tough to stomach that loss a little bit.
And does it have any impact knowing the cause of the fire?
As for the cause, I don't know. All I know is the report is out. I really can't speak to what the cause is. All I know is there was a fire, and I had to deal with it, and it wasn't a great day.
And is there anything I didn't ask that you would like to add about your experience?
I just, one thing that came out of this is fire awareness and fire preparation. And to think about, this fire chased me and my family from here back home, and I get home, and then I'm being told I have to evacuate my house, and knowing that within about an hour, I needed to pack up everything I could and get out of there, and not knowing if I'd have a home when I came back. It alerted me to the fact that I need to be better at supporting any insurance claims in the future by documenting my stuff, being more aware of putting out fires and being able to deal with fires on a personal level, and just being ready. Because I wasn't ready. I did not know how to evacuate. I'd never had to. I'm very lucky that the guy that was with me, my friend, is a U.S. Air Force. I don't know his rank, but he had been through evacuations before at other bases, and he knew the process, and he said, I'm here, I'm gonna walk you through it. We're gonna get through this together. And he was there every minute of the way to get me loaded up in the RV and get my family ready. He did not go back to Fairchild until he knew that my family was ready to go. So that was amazing, and I learned a lot from it. So I hope that we learn from our mistakes, and that was a mistake not being ready for something like that and not being prepared. So I really hope that more people will realize, wow, when you're told you have to leave in 10 minutes, you know, go get those certain pictures and albums that you can't live without, or you absolutely will lose and they'll be gone forever. I know when I evacuated, my wife came home and she grabbed things that I would have never thought to get. I'm thinking survival. She's thinking, you know, these are relics and memories that we don't want to ever lose. And she took care of that. And I thought that was amazing.
Thank you.